So we did an interview with Premier. I think we did an interview in the New Nation to kind of set the record straight. But then this was exactly the point that we were trying to avoid by pulling out quietly and saying, can all of our votes go towards Jahazo? Jahazo's been part of Green Jade. He is the biggest artist within Christian. He deserves this.
Yeah.
More than we do, because we ain't here. We're not doing your churches. We're not doing.
You're not doing churches.
We're not doing GL Live. We can't get booked for them shows. They don't want us there no more. So hey, that's cool. Let me go and continue doing New Wine and Greenbelt and Soul Survivor. Like that's where we are.
Cucumber shows, man.
Right? That's where we're. Yeah. Let me get some quiche.
Affinity Xtra. Be Xtra.
The views and opinions expressed in this podcast are personal and do not necessarily represent the views of Affinity Xtra.
Yeah, people. This is your boy here, Roger Moore, here on Affinity Xtra, where he celebrate gospel music of black origin. And obviously, you can tell from my accent, I'm from the UK. May not be from the South. I am from the Midlands. And
Black country.
Black country. You know what I'm saying? We're from the ends in Birmingham. About black country. People. No, I was born in the ends. And I have a guest with me now. There was there's part of my thing is I love talking about history. I've been doing recounting, and one of the things that I realized is that basically when it comes to urban history, urban gospel music history, Wizdom was right next to me actually, and this horror moment that we had a few years ago in Bristol. You know what I'm saying? You know, I did say this to somebody yesterday. You know, I was talking to this is before we recorded this interview. The day before, I was talking to Ace about it.
Okay.
Yeah. And he almost had a horror show. He
wasn't even there.
He was like, "What on earth?" And you was there in that moment, bro. We were sitting down next to each other, and we've been working together for the past 5 years, myself and Wizdom with GMIA. And, you know, if you're going to get somebody in urban gospel who's one side, who's a left and a right, if you have politics in hip hop, left. No.
Football,
From football.
Even the fact that we're wearing white and black, it stands out to me.
Well,
because obviously I never walk alone, but like other people, you know what I mean?
It's a we used to be the majority, you know what I say? We red, man, right? But no, 100%. We're not. We're the opposites in terms of almost every aspect of how we look at things. We look at things from two different things of the Bible. Not like we always. It's not like we disagree all the time. It's just that we have creative angles to the same bottom, yeah? And so we're sitting next to each other, knowing that we've gone this journey. Yeah, we are very similar in age. Would have been at senior school at the same time, and so we have been part of this development in the UK of urban gospel, both of us from different perspectives. I'm more not on the stage, 100% not on the stage, and Wisdom's full on the stage, but also now mentoring. It's everything out there. So we're minding our own business now, people. And we're at this gospel music thing. I'm thinking that we're not really going to really touch base with the urban scene because no one's really, we would know people writing books about it. We would know they'll be calling definitely Wizdom about, you know, Green Jade and whatever history, and they'll be calling myself. So we would know.
Yeah. Because it was an academic forum. It was an academic forum in a university talking about black music and music of faith.
Mm-hmm. And the man wrote a chapter in the book. So he was summing it up. And his start point was Bible. And there was this, and the thing is, in the room, everybody's like, yeah, we're looking at each other going.
Didn't start there.
It was a start of a chapter, 100%, and that's inspired me to talk to the elders, the people before Bibles and Bible, and to document and take notes of what has been done from their perspective. And one thing I learned from doing my own documentary stuff is it's good to have different perspectives of the same period, because you'll get to the real truth. Yeah. Because everybody's truth is probably more likely correct from their angle. You know what I'm saying? But, you know, it's real important. And there's no doubt about it. Wizdom, I've seen Wizdom from a particular angle, and we're going to discuss that. And he's seen me from a particular angle and discuss that. Myself being a flagship promoter in the scene, who a media tycoon, I would say, when it came to Gospel Magazine. And it was and if anyone knows my heart, I was always about the community. But then at the same time, maybe if I had knew these guys as just before that development, it could have been very much different for urban gospel right now. That's just the realness of it. Maybe if we had a better developed WhatsApp, we would have had.
If we had WhatsApp.
Yeah, you know what I'm saying? You know, we wouldn't guess. You know what I mean?
It's all down to MySpace problems. That's what it is.
So we just didn't really have the ability to communicate with each other like we can do now. So, but either way, we're going to talk about it and also talk about the sacrifices were made by a lot of the groups beforehand. But anyway, let me get a kick onto this. Wizdom, as far as I'm concerned, is part of a group called Green Jade, a group that was very different in terms of they and we're gonna touch. I'm smiling because I'm gonna be priding out what you've been asking. I'm gonna ask these guys. Wizdom was a group that came into a scene at its early stages of urban gospel, of rap. Let's put UK rap. Yeah. Very UK gospel rap. You came in the early stages, yeah. Mm-hmm. So we want to know who you saw there, who inspired you, who so on there. And I know you can talk about how you got there as well. And also, you know, there's been times where we talk about, there's a big massive thing about Glorilla, yeah. You were the Glorilla before Glorilla. He's laughing, you know. People don't know, you know. You say these guys were the talk of the town when you did the opposite of Glorilla.
We're the opposite. Oh,
yeah. He said you refused to be in the gospel category. Yeah, so he will explain the bad PR in terms of gospel community he got for that. But there's a reason behind it, and we're going to find out about a lot of things which Green Jade was a flagship group, and also, you know, for us seen as one of the bougie groups because they were signed to OTR Records, so they had a £500,000 $1 million bill.
We did
a deal. You know what I'm saying? You know, so Wizdom was the first. He had a Saab. His driver had a Saab. You know,
the convertible one.
Yeah. So he had a flat in Bournemouth. You know what I'm saying? So good off each So
I had Bournemouth papers.
So we was waiting there.
Eastbourne.
Eastbourne. That's it.
Eastbourne papers. Eastbourne.
Yeah, and so there's a lot of things that perspectives that we had of Green Jade. You guys did a lot of things in terms of music videos, a lot of things in schools as well. But were you a gospel act? I don't know. You were seen as theological before the theological wars started in UK rap. You was already had a stance that was almost different to the others as well. You know, comparison to like the Tunnel Rats and so on. That's still who fortunately I've done a show with, and then a lot of the guys were like, oh wow, you got to be full on Jesus, where you guys were, I believe, full on Jesus, but in a different way. You know what I'm saying? You know, so understanding that things, and also the investments, the struggles, this, and we're gonna go into this. People go, yo, this is gonna be a documentary. We're documenting a perspective, guys, and I will chime in and we go through it anyway today. Yeah, but this is gonna be fun. I am going to be doing things. This is the Edge show, so we're going to be getting a bit edgy at times and real at times as well. But I want to know. Like I said, I've got this document from Wizdom, and I'll be honest with you. Now straight away, he's got my back up because I see the year 1992. I'm going, Which part? 1992, more like 1998. Please explain to me how you get 90. No, because you know some people do see it as you came in to see more like in the
That's when they saw us.
Okay. All right. So so I'm seeing Genesis 1992. How on earth did you? So how do you start from there? Because
to be fair, actually, the genesis of Green Jade goes back to about 1981.
81. Okay.
So Green Jade, for those who don't know, so Green Jade was a crew originally.
Yeah.
And it started off with Way and Judah, who were the leader members. And basically, they lived in Clapham. They got together at primary school, in the primary school on their estate in Clapham.
Okay, cool.
That was officially when Green Jade began.
Cool.
And Judah, as the person that he was just the kind of a very natural leader who brought a lot of people to him.
Nice.
So as he got older, he attracted what you could call gangs to him in some or groups.
Yeah.
So 1992, we started off actually as a dance group called Poetic Justice. So, you know, doing sort of the Running Man, those type dance things back in the day.
Yeah.
Because Judah had been to New York to meet family members. And sort of came back with the Kangol and baggy jeans and sort of all of that.
Goodness,
type of thing.
man.
So like he brought that back, you know what
velvet,
right?
Geez.
So it was one of those things where, and I say this from this point of view, for a lot of us as Caribbeans growing up in the UK around that time, we had family in New York and Canada and various other places, and that was where we linked with hip hop.
Yes, correct.
So because music at that time required record shops to get involved in.
But then, what about reggae, this sound culture?
There was some of that, but like we're actually small island mainly.
Cool. So
we're more soca, to be honest. So Judah is, so Way's dad's Jamaican and his mum is from Ghana. And Judah is from Grenada. Okay, cool. But like Third is from St. Kitts. He's from the Grenadines.
Okay.
Carriacou in particular.
Carriacou, I know that.
Like my parents are from Barbados. So all of us we're all generally Caribbean. And had family, as I said, that had connections to hip hop, and that kind of really affected us more so than I would say the sound system culture.
Yeah.
So Way got his own place relatively young, and his house became a place where young men could congregate and come together. So as a result, Logical was in there as well. He was part of the dance crew. He was one of the original members of Green Jade. And then it just started, as they got older, it just started to attract more and more guys who wanted really just a safe place to hang out without parents and listen to Tem Westwood on a Friday night, smoke weed, watch Ally McBeal. And at the time, hip hop was very conscious. So this is moving forward to about mid-90s now. So hip hop was much more conscious in its output. And while yes, you did have gangster rap, for want of a better phrase, but you also had Tribe Called Quest. You had Leaders of the New School, Laws of the Underground. You had Poor Righteous Teachers. You had a lot of music that had a real breadth of topics.
So when it came to hip hop back then, were you guys getting like imports? Were you guys going to big shows?
Yes, we were. We were. I remember I always make the joke about the fact that we went from a Wu-Tang concert to a Fred Hammond concert within the space of 12 months, and it was a big jump. And we were very much involved in the scene. There were a lot of rappers around us, so we knew people like Black Twang, Ty, rest in peace, and a lot of other of those guys were our contemporaries, were around at the same time with us. People like Estelle, who's now well known in the US. They were all Big Ted, Shorty Blitz, DJ 279. These were our contemporaries. Yeah. And we were doing shows in the scene before we came to Christ. And then in about, I think it was 1994, one of our members who was involved in some gang violence activities, someone had put a hit out on his life. And as a result, he started carrying weapons and was looking to try and secure himself. And as a group, we then started to kind of get drawn into that beef. Just as that was happening, a woman at his workplace, because he was working security, and a woman at his workplace came up to him and said, "You look like you're in distress. Would you mind if I prayed with you?" And he was like, "I've tried everything else. What the heck, man? I've got a samurai sword in my back, but hey, you know what I mean?" And he prayed with her, and she invited him to his church, and he started to have a change of heart and mind. And as the day he decided he was going to give his life to Christ, he actually walked out. I think it was at work. Walked out and bumped into the guy who put a hit out on his life. And like a scuffle ensued, and he kind of said to the guy, "Look, whatever you're going to do it now, because that's it. I'm not into this anymore. I'm not involved in none of this stuff." And the guy punched him, fell to the ground. He stood back up and said, "Is that it?" It's like, yeah. And that was the end of the beef.
Cool.
So coming from a place where he had been chased down the street, like with people firing shots after him, the fact that ended was kind of miraculous. And he kind of came back, was like, "I ain't doing drugs. I'm not dealing drugs anymore. I'm in other things. This is the church I'm going to. My life has changed. You should all." And he then started to go to a church, and he invited his pastor to come down and speak to us. And we, as I said, because it was a very conscious time in hip hop, we used to have different speakers come down. So we would have Nation of Islam speakers come down. We would have, various other people come down and just talk to us as men. And we invited the pastor, and the pastor basically said, "Well, this is who Jesus is. This is what this is about. And you are always welcome in my church." And then over the space of a year, I think 15 of the 25 members of the gang gave their life to Christ. And that included Jahazel, who else was there? There was a few others that didn't end up being Green Jade as a group. But we then kind of put the rap thing down for about a year. And then we really felt God calling us back to it because we didn't, there wasn't a Christian hip hop scene. It didn't exist as far as we were aware at that period of time.
Yeah, cool.
So this is 94, 95.
So 94, 95, you guys were like, it's interesting because, like I said, at that time, I think people just saw that people were just running and nobody was consciously thinking. But there was a massive time in the 90s where we see things like, even like Spike Lee and all these guys doing a lot of films, a lot of things that we were asking questions. We were going back. There's a lot of black consciousness and a lot of black programs are around at that time. And we were seeking truth, and the question, how do we relate to black young men? We still struggling to this very day. But at the time, Christianity struggled to reach to young black men in how I know you were like how I grew up. It had no connection to young black men because it was like, my friends were leaving church to go to jungle raves. So for the ones, I will not call it drum and bass, jungle. Before it got colonized, it was jungle. And they were going to these raves, and the church was trying to come back at it with Andrea Crouch songs and Hawkins. And it was the music now style as where reggae was a bit more smoother.
Well, I think again, a lot of the church leaders had come from Jamaica, and so therefore there was a reggae influence, but hip hop was a different thing.
Different thing totally.
And as well, the thing that is also very hard to really appreciate now, hip hop was not mainstream in the mid-90s.
No.
It was maybe you would hear a Summertime from Fresh Prince and stuff like that, but you were not hearing. In the UK in particular, you weren't hearing lots of like real American hip hop. There were only really 3 shows on radio, and that was Westwood, DJ 279, and Max Alex and Davy J on Kiss that then got replaced by Shorty Blids and Big Ted. So it wasn't like, and even from a London perspective, South London had Choice FM, East London didn't. So, So it was, we didn't even realize until we started looking back on it. It was really localized. There were these very specific shops that you had to go to, and we knew because Wayne and I in particular were record collectors. We knew where all the shops were around town, and that was how you engaged with it. So
it's interesting what you're talking about records, because when I was younger, I used to when I was buying rap, and I had to stop because where it was going. So you're talking about the commercial stuff. Now I bought rap from Virgin. Yeah. So you talk about
It would have been £15 for a single.
Yeah.
Single.
So I was buying artists like the Brat, like oh goodness sake.
Whereas I
you know
think
what I'm
I've got one of the first copies of Wu-Tang's Protection Act to come into the UK.
See, that's what I'm saying. To you. You guys were and that sort of thing. Where I was more on the commercial side of things, looking at rap. I know, and it'll laugh. People like you would see in HMV at the time, Skilo and all these guys. You know what I mean? Yes, they were rap, but they were like the commercial ones that were coming through. But then all my friends, like when my friends said to me about Onyx, I was like, "Who the hell is Onyx?" You know what I'm saying? You know, guilty.
I know who Onyx is. I have the haircut.
So for me, you're totally right there in terms of its wideness, and only a few commercial tracks were getting through.
So at the time, for us, it was churches found it weird.
Yeah,
there were a couple other groups around the same time. So Royal Priesthood would have come through in a similar way to us.
Yeah,
as in they were rapping beforehand and sort of coming to Christ. But you did have the presence. Want to big up Ibe, Warrior. Bold, Terminator, may rest in peace.
Talking about presence, oh god, I say eBay soon. Right. What was there when you guys came and you not so much put down your rapping, but you kind of said, "Listen, let's get this, let's get our head around the go thing." Was there you turned up at concert and you saw somebody rap, and you kid, you looked at each other and go, "Yo."
No, actually, to be fair, no, it wasn't. It
was our performance.
It wasn't that. It was more a case of, as I said, we were relatively established in what we were doing, so we weren't really looking at anybody else. It was just now. It was like we had a faith, and we'd started performing in some churches, but we're still performing in some of the places that we were performing before. We were still with the guys with
cool.
Mudlims and stuff, and maybe didn't necessarily have the wisdom at the time to kind of how we necessarily approached it. And that's also to do with the kind of church that we went to, which was very forceful and traditional in its views. But I think that then changed for us over time. But essentially, it wasn't a case of all of these they're not any good, we're going to come and take it over. It was never that. It was just a case of our standard. We were trying to be a Tribe Called Quest or Leaders of the New School, or that was the standard. We weren't even really looking. I think for us, we weren't even necessarily looking at the UK. It was, how do we get to America with this thing? That was always where it was. It wasn't, it wasn't really accepted. People would still say now, if they heard me rap, that, why'd you rap in an American accent? It was because in the same way, no one is listening to you do soca in an English East London accent. It just wouldn't work, right? No. And neither does reggae. But for all of a sudden, there was this whole thing about, why are you rapping like Americans? It's American music. It's like, for us at the time, it was not even just American music. It's New York.
It's straight New York.
It's New York music. Do you know what I mean?
So
that was where we were kind of coming from. And that was our aims. Our aims were about, how do we get out of here? How do we take this further? How do we get to the US? Because we always knew that there wasn't really a market hugely in the UK. But we wanted to, but then as we developed, and the world started to change a bit, and there was a little bit more opportunities to get the word out, if you like. We then kind of shifted to, what were the issues that we were seeing in life around us and in the situations, and how could we lend our voice to it?
So what was, I'm just trying to get a picture around about 95, 96, when you guys started. You're doing your I would say coffee shops. Yeah, we'll call them clubs. You know what I'm saying? Coffee.
The Bear in Deptford.
So do shows, but in terms of like church building outside of your church, what was the first concert that you kind of did, and how was the response to you?
I remember one show. It was probably New Testament in somewhere in North London.
Is it like Mile End?
No, it wasn't Mile End. It was
Wizdom.
North. No, possibly Wizdom. It was possibly Wizdom.
Okay, cool.
And I remember us doing a show. doing a performance.
Go on. Confess. Confess.
Right. So firstly, the person who introduced us didn't know how. Right. I don't know if he didn't. He read Green Jade and was like, "This can't be what they're called." So like, I think he called us brother someone in the band or something like that. You know. And then we rapped and then we performed. And the first thing he said afterwards, he just came back on stage confused. He was like, brothers in church with hats on. Okay, we'll have to pray for that. And moving on. And it was just like, oh, okay.
Wow.
And then I remember the other one I remember was, I think we possibly opened for Ricky Dillard in Faith Chapel. And there was another band.
I remember that period when he came over. I remember when he came over, And
I remember there was another Christian band who had been around for a little while. And I remember going up to them afterwards and saying, hey, man, I think you guys are really great. Would love to learn from you. And his response, one of the members' response, the other guys were cool, I will have to say this, but one of the members' response was, well, we've had to really suffer to go through and learn what we're doing, so we're not going to tell you, you're going to have to learn it yourself.
Wow.
I was like, oh.
Yeah,
okay.
Wow.
And like determined within my mind at that point, like if I ever got to anywhere, if we ever got to a stage where we were someone, I would never do that. And I would always try and open doors for people who came behind me. I remember that very, very specifically within that conversation in particular. So those are the kind of shows we started to do. And then we started to be like, oh, well, let's do something for the youth. Because like you said, at the time, a lot of the young people who'd grown up in church were sick of it because a lot of their parents, no offense, were hypocrites. And what they were seeing at church and seeing at home were two different things. And, you know, everything was about things you couldn't do. And it was weird for us because we're coming in from a world of violence, drugs, girls, and partying to Christ at a time when most of the kids who'd grown up in church were trying desperately to get out to where we were. And it was interesting for us as we kind of observed that dynamic. And it was because I just found that there was a lot of harshness. And I would say that it took me, at that period of time, it's also good to note because people forget now. Because it's like remembering a time before social media. People can't really work out how things worked. And it's like at that time, late 90s, there was this real genuine fear that Christ was coming back in 2000, right? And that the rapture was going to happen. And the computer chips were going to crash and that would be the end of the civilization as we know. And like, as I said, it sounds kind of crazy now, but that was genuinely
666 computers made up that point. So
that was generally where people's heads were at. So it made how we interacted and what we were doing in a very, very kind of specific way. And it meant that there was just a lot of pressure on young people at that time around their faith, because anything that you do, you were pretty much going to burn in hell for. And so what we became was a way to connect a lot of young people with faith into a world that they didn't really know and into kind of what was going on. And because we're young, we're trying to navigate what our faith is at that point in time. And that's what's coming through our music. So we were trying to do that. And like now, years later, what I didn't know at the time, recorded a mixtape in my bedroom called Rhyming Over Dubs. Actually almost directly as a response.
This is my thing now, guys. You listening to this podcast right now. When you say in your bedroom, I can go, I know what you mean. I know what you mean. I know what you mean. I know what you mean.
Yeah.
But they come in here and they go, what's that? What's this? What's that? Now, today, to make a beat, no offense, I'm not going to talk much about the sampling without permission. But the joke is, bro, we were scared. We were more scared about sampling without permission than they are now today with the technology.
Yeah, for real.
You know what I'm saying? But how do you produce a mixtape and you said it so quick like it was piece of cake in a time where you had no band? Yeah, so you guys are not musicians. You're not church boys. Like, you know what I'm saying? Like, I got a guitar there because I'm a church boy. I play bass guitar. Now, I've got a bag of you-mans come from road into my church and they're making tunes without a band, without going to church and recording. So, you're making a beat. Who's the beat maker?
So at that stage, Ray was kind of starting, but what we did, actually, we had a beat maker who'd come to church, but actually had left. So when we kind of formulated a group, we didn't necessarily have a producer on board.
Cool.
But what our Friday nights had been us rhyming over instrumentals. So as I said, me and Way used to buy lots of records, and back then you would often get the instrumental of the song on the 12-inch. So
Come on, Waj, you should know this. Yeah.
So I was at college at the time studying sound engineering.
So you guys were doing, you guys know about vinyls and stuff.
Yeah,
like that?
that's what I'm saying.
Listen,
So I was a DJ before I could rap. I my rapping came from the fact I was buying so many records and being able to recite everything. That's where I learned cadence. That's where I learned writing. That's where I learned all of the things, because I was just copying other people, and then I learned to write myself. But we had all of that. So I had my turntables at home. I had a mixer. I had a microphone. So what we would do, because as I said, what happened to us was we went to, actually I think Fred Hammond had a big effect on this. We went to a Fred Hammond concert. As I said, we'd gone from being at Wu-Tang concerts. We were at that concert, right? We were at that concert, right? At Westminster Central Hall.
Yeah.
We were the guys who first came out.
Was it the Orange Flyer?
I can't remember, but we were the guys who come out of our seats and led people down the front, right? We didn't know that wasn't something that was done at the time, right? Because as I said, our last concert was Wu-Tang, right? Yeah. So we danced down the aisles and stuff like that, and then we kind of afterwards came back to ourselves and were like, guys, this ain't really us. If we're honest with ourselves, we've embraced the whole Christian thing and everything else, but this is not our music. This isn't what affects us. And us trying to party like we're at a Wu-Tang concert or an Onyx concert to Fred Hammond just isn't us. Yeah. We need something to feed us. So we came up with the idea that we just do this mixtape. It's going to be called Rhyming Over Dubs, because we would be continually writing.
Okay, heavy. I like that.
And we just did this mixtape, it was for us.
Yeah.
It wasn't even for anyone else. It was just for us to have something that we could listen to and vibe to, because we enjoyed everybody else's lyrics. And there was probably about 8 of us on it. And the tape got out. People started copying the tape and various other bits and pieces. We did 2 or 3 of them, and this is tape cassettes, by the way. For those who don't know what they are, right? It just got out, and that kind of helped propel. What I didn't know until years later was speaking to McNasty that tape was the first access to hip hop that Labyrinth and his family had. Because they all grew up in church, couldn't listen to hip hop. And we didn't know the effect that it was having. So when we were being asked to go and do the youth shows, a lot of the adults weren't necessarily in there. But now the kids who were in those youth shows are some of the biggest sort of session musicians and promoters and various other things in the industry. Like Twin B, who both Twin Bs who were at Def Jam, who run Def Jam 0207. Like they'd heard those mixtapes, and those were the kids that we were actually performing to back in the day, who'd grown up in church, and we were providing that soundtrack. And like I've heard a lot of people come and say, like, you were the first people who kind of made it cool.
So cheeky moment. Let me know what quality, what was the brand of cassette tape did you buy?
Oh man, well, hey.
We're gonna know if you know. Let's see if he knows. Let's see.
Well, the bog standard was the D90, so that's what you copy stuff onto. But we used the Technics ones, the grey ones.
Okay.
What SA90? SA90. That was the tape.
Okay.
The
SA90. Yes.
SA90 was the one. 45 minutes on each side.
You remember when they came out with the CD quality tapes?
Yeah.
And it was like literally. Oh boy, that industry was dangerous, man. So but now anybody who's from old school, they'll still be smiling right now, still, because TDK.
Yeah, but then the other thing is because I was a sound engineer as well, or training to sound engineer. I knew about other technologies that people didn't know about. So I was one of the first people to bring a mini disc. So we got fed up of people not being able to work out where to press play on a CD. Ooh. So we brought a mini disc. I bought a mini disc, which allowed me to be able to program our sets, and I'd have the remote control in my back pocket, and I was just like, just point it this way. And like they would be like, what is this alchemy that you're doing? Because I could run the set off the stage, because I just didn't trust They're sound engineers to know how to
So
press
when
play.
you was doing shows now with the rappers back then in the I would say mid to late 90s, so you mentioned the likes of Presence, they were doing their things as well. I spoke to other groups where they talked about they had some prayer groups going on with the rap guys at the time.
Days, Watchmen Warriors.
Yeah, all these guys. Were you guys mixing with these guys?
Yeah.
We
started to. So it would have been the likes of Warrior. I think Day started a lot of that. So big up Paul Servier because he kind of brought a lot of people together. So that would have been where we would have met Warrior. We would have met Shabazz. We would have met.
He's a rapper, you know, people.
Yeah. We would have met a lot of those guys there.
Yeah.
And that was where, and we started to build sort of friendships and stuff. What we didn't kind of know at the time, or didn't really take into consideration, is that they possibly had a different view of us. Because, as I say, we're coming from hip hop. We're already quite established as a group. One of the things that I'm really proud of that happened in our group was we were we became, because it didn't start that way to be fair, we became very happy about everybody in their own roles being their own thing. So we didn't intimidate each other. But what we realized later is that the 5 of us or 4 of us turning up intimidated other people. And that wasn't an intention.
I think you had a real advantage. Your a lot of the guys I find who were in the early stages are guys who well, not always grew up in church, but you guys had a relationship group wise that was before was before. So you guys were cool. It's very hard to be in a group when you got. They tend to break up quite quickly, but you guys seem to have a synergy beyond.
And that, as I said, going back to what I was saying about Judah and Way, the whole thing of Green Jade was built on the relationship of Judah and Way, which went back to primary school. And because of that, and this was an interesting thing for us, that was a foundation. And actually what became very powerful was we brought that foundation into our church, which didn't have a lot of support for men. So we actually became the brotherhood department to some extent because we had set up an establishment of how men interact with each other and support each other as friends. And that didn't exist in our church before that. And
but you see my age group,
weird.
No. With guys, being honest, like, I see myself as a very weird guy because a lot of guys my age, I would say 19 out of 20 left church. Straight, my age group, left church. Was it the same soul down London or was it the same thing? People don't realize there was at the time of this, the sound of, as much as the guys that are literally 5 years older than us, you know, bro. I look at some of these musicians that are like in the early 50s now. Yo, them man are almost 60. And they're going, you like their music there? And I'm into this total different sort of music. They're like different people to us. What I find is that we're like the first of the born here with no siblings in another country. You know what I'm saying? You know what I mean? And we're more UK, but grew up around our grandparents. You know what I'm saying? We know the accent. We know the culture. We rice and peas. We love watching a black boxer beat a white boxer. You know what I'm saying? You know what I'm saying? We support, Brazil over England. You know what I'm saying? We support West Indies versus England. It's West Indies. You cannot support England, bro. So we grew up in that whole culture, but we were different to the guys a few years older. But the thing is that, like you said, talk about men's departments, we just left the church.
Yeah, as I said, we were watching people leave around us. And I think for our immediate community, as I said, we became a lifeline for them. I didn't realize that was what was happening at the time. But and I think that ended up how sort of Zion Noise ended up being created was because we were into bringing people together and that kind of thing. And it did end up with a scene for us where all of us were performing back and forth and there were more shows going on back then. And then that was all solidified actually here in Birmingham by Cypher, which was run by Joel the Custodian, who I would call him Thinking. like, you know, and all of that kind of coming into everything else. And also as well, we had been to LA and Orlando for what was called Crewvention. So we met, so it was a hip hop convention, Christian hip hop convention. That's where we met Cross Movement, Remnant Militia, Tunnel Rats, all of those guys. And we brought the tapes back because I was working for Lucas Langdon and the Wake Records at the time. So I brought tapes back and CDs back and was selling those. So we were very heavily involved in the community.
On that now, I want to know, who was the American rapper that people talk about, particular American rappers that really hit them? And you guys just seem like you guys already engrossed in terms of rap and American, you know, really came in and whatever. Now, obviously, believe it or not, guys, there is the gospel hip hop was compared to secular hip hop was night and it's just
not there.
Especially if you're a connoisseur of real rap.
Yeah.
You could, I don't know how.
I think so. The first person
who was that person?
The first person that we came across, was it Frosty? Was the first person, one of the first people that we came across, and then there was another guy.
Sorry, people. No, get Frosty. That because I did a show with Get Frosty.
Yeah, did you?
Yeah. No, you mean that white guy?
Yeah,
the white guy.
From LA.
Yeah, from LA. I did a show with him.
Did you?
Yeah, up in my church.
Yeah, so I think he was one of the first ones we came across. There was another guy who was much more hard, but I can't remember who it was. But when we went to Crewvention, that's when we came back with tapes. So for the biggest influence, I would say, on both Green Jade, Zion Noise, was a group called Remnant Militia. Because Remnant were like the Christian equivalent of Wu-Tang. And in a sense that...
Wow.
And not many people know that. No, but the do-do-do-do-do-do-do comes from a song that they made. That's actually what became the Zion Noise.
When he said Zion Noise, I was ready to go.
That's where it came from. It was a song by a guy called Dirt, which featured Remnant, and like he comes in, Drastic comes in with like, it don't matter who you are, boo your car scatter. Drastic, the first batter up to capture your imagination. Like it was just like, what? It was like it wasn't. Yeah. Jesus is good. Jesus is great. We should love Jesus. Jesus, no, hey, like, you know what I mean? It was raw. These guys are boring.
Yeah.
And so coming back with that, we were like, this is wild. So that spread through our community, and a lot of both Green Jade, probably more Zion Noise, is influenced directly by them. And from a performance point of view, there's actually, again, another link to Birmingham. I saw a French hip hop group. So Joel was in a group. Was it Mars? No, it's not Mars. Not Mars.
He was in. Was he? No, that Deep Space 5.
No.
Sugar.
He was in Mars Hill. He was in the group before Mars Hill.
Something Hill? Is it Something Hill?
Nah. And then it was.
Oh Lord.
Michaelis Constant.
Yeah.
So they were opening for Farside. So we were like, you know what? These guys support us.
Yes.
So we came here to the Custard Factory.
Yeah.
And so...
By the way, guys, I weren't going to these shows, by the way. Yeah. I was going to church shows.
So we came up here, and then there was so after Michaelis Constant performed, there was a French rap group in between Farside called Science Super Crew. And they were the most amazing live performance we'd ever seen in our lives. That not a word was in English, but they showed us how you can communicate across barriers by being great at what you do. And literally, me and Fer drove the entire way home from Birmingham. Just the only thing we said to each other in that 2-hour drive was, we need to practice. We called a practice the next day, and then we tried to replicate what we had seen them do, and that became... So those two were the most impactful things for us. But what Remnant did... Like Remnant, even now, Remnant would, if that was known, that would have shaken the world, because they were incredible.
So tell me, so people like Corey Red, which is a traditional go-to for Lacquer guys, was he?
No, nowhere on my list.
Yeah.
He's all right. Corey Red, I think he was the other one that a lot of people talked about. But in no offense to anybody, but I wasn't really checking for like the likes of Lecrae and all of those kind of people. We did, obviously we'd met Cross Movement.
Yeah.
Back then. So I got on really well with, at the time, Fanatic and John Wells. And we actually interviewed them. We were the first people to interview them in the UK when they did their first show at Stratton Place. It wasn't all of them, but unfortunately, they didn't all turn out to be particularly nice people. And they ended up in a beef with Tunnel Rats, whereas we got on really well with Tunnel Rats. And like at one point, we'd been in, when Tunnel Rats expanded, we were actually invited to be part of it. And we're like talking about moving over to LA and all of these kind of things, but it all kind of fell apart. It didn't really happen. But then that meant that we ended up kind of being Tunnel Rats UK. And then MOD kind of ended up being Cross Movement UK. And because of that, Cross Movement didn't quite vibe with us. So it felt like there ended up being this division between us and MOD were running a church at the time, and half of the members of Zion Noise went to their church. And the rest of us were in YCF.
It was
caused friction.
Real problem. And listen, right, I'm going to add something into these problems that we had in the early years of, because everyone was very, it's my way or the highway. You know what I'm saying? And Cross Movement was like that. You know what I'm saying?
Yes.
And was renowned for that. And I believe Reach Records early days was very much like that as well.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying?
And it was, can't work with secular people and do you know what I mean? And like,
we had church clothes.
And it was just like, and this was the thing, going back to these conversations around everybody's leaving the church, it was because there were some traditions that we had that weren't actually part of our faith. Yeah. That people were finding it really difficult to deal with. And I think if you go back, what I really began to understand as I got older was that if you're coming from the Caribbean in the 60s, you're dealing with racism, you're dealing with all sorts of other stuff. And the church became a safe place to hide from what they saw as a world that they didn't want to be part of.
Of course, yeah.
So no going to the cinema, none of this. We don't, they're out here having babies at young age. We can't have any of that. So wear a dress down to your ankles and everything else. And it just created this really restrictive vibe. And we kind of then ended up feeling like that was what was coming from Cross Movement. And it started to seep into the music. And it was just like, I don't really think that that's the freedom of Christ that he's talking about. So,
Tunnel Rats, right. I did a show with Tunnel Rats and I did a tour with Dax, Rafi and Propaganda. Yeah.
We missed it because we had another show that day, but I came by, I actually was on Elephant and Castle roundabout on my motorcycle. They'd come out of the venue. I got a chance to say hello to them before we went.
Okay, so you was in London one. There was an Asian guy from Milton Keynes brought him over. I can't remember his name, man.
Lee Nah. Was it Lee Nah from Bedford?
Lee from Bedford. Yeah.
So, big up Lee.
Wow, that's a great one.
He was one of my customers. That I used to send music.
Because the music too. So he did Milton Keynes, he did London, and he did Birmingham. I hosted the Birmingham one. And now I know Tunnel Rats. I've done Cross Movements artists, and I've done early like wear the t-shirt, GR Lives, and I've done Cross Movements there, and I noticed. And that Tunnel Rats got such a bad press, that when they came there, they were about excellence. And I came after, and you know what was really cool? Dax got the mic, got all the artists, the Sammy G's of the world, the young artists there. I said, listen, we're gonna go out there. This is how we hold the mic. This is what he's do. And he was empowering the young artists around him. Listen, vocal control, warm up your vocals, do this. He was inspiring the youngers to do better. And I'm sitting there going, hey, you're meant to be the wicked.
You're the bad guys.
You're the bad guys. And from that moment on, I had a different perspective. And it's not like I had a bad one about them, because I love their music, because their producer, Dirt. Oh, he makes some dirty beats, man. Dirty beats, bro. But that's something which I want to highlight did come again with Arminian and Calvinism later on. But which are hopefully we are chucking out right now. But we thing with you rappers there, still you that detailed about your approach. but you almost have to act it off stage. Yeah? You know what I'm saying? So that was crazy. But no, that's crazy. Ton of Rats. And I could see that. I could see you guys being that type of artist.
Yeah, so if you also it's important to know what Ton of Rats means. The concept behind Ton of Rats was so powerful. And it very much resonated with us. Even though, to be honest, we didn't like it, but like, yeah, it's when God calls you to a thing, he calls you to a thing.
Yeah.
So the role of a Ton of Rat was in the First World War. Ton of Rats were the people who went into the fields and physically dug the trenches that the rest of the army would then populate and fight field warfare on. So it meant that by nature of the job, it was to stand up in a field and be shot at whilst you are digging. That is what it effectively means. It means to be forerunners. It means to be the people who kind of set the foreground for other people to come on after. Yeah. And people are not necessarily going to like you for it. And that was what Ton of Rats were doing in the US. That's what we were doing here. 100%. We understood that our role was, this isn't just for you. You aren't just going to be doing this forever. It's about how do you build a sustainable space. So for example, we took a break in 99 to 2000 and I needed something to do. And someone invited me to start a Christian club night at Granaries in Croydon called Rebirth. And so I had a 3-level club. So I had live performances on the top floor and DJs just downstairs, so you could have the choice.
Gospel event.
Yeah, gospel event.
Okay, cool.
And just as leading up to the event, I went to a church to see a friend and they were having like a church party. And the guy who was DJing just kept playing banger after banger. And I'm just like, who is this kid?
Yeah.
Turned out it was his first ever show. That was James El Nino.
James Freeman.
And so I got him to come and do for me. And then we were Pastor kind of happened with the people who were involved in doing Rebirth. And then he said he wanted to start his own thing. So I was like, here is my mailing list. You go and do it. Anything that we can do to support you, we will. And that became
United by One.
And A Godly Affair. That was what that was.
Godly Affair.
So
pass the mic.
Yeah. Right. So that all of those events really always wanted to be supportive of James.
That's interesting.
Because we wanted to help build the scene. And then off the back of that, then they built their website. I know that's when Christoph came into things and stuff like that. And, they really helped build a scene that then included the likes of Four Corners and all sorts of others. And they were doing management and stuff. And we started to get some momentum with the likes of Sinai, as I say, people like Warrior Bold and all these other, Dwayne Triumph then sort of came into the terms as well. Jahazel, obviously, So we were trying to do our thing, and we were lucky in the fact that then at that time as well, we built relationships with what we would call the CCM, the white Christian community. And actually the night, so we came up, it was September 2001 that we first came up to do Cypher here in Birmingham. And then we had a show in Manchester the day after. And I met one of the guys from the Tribe who came down and was sitting quietly in a corner. Much love to Tim and the Owen family. Love you guys. And we invited him to come and see our show in Manchester the next day. So he came up and saw us, and that is how we got into that whole conversation with OTR and Soul Survivors, and because black artists weren't doing that, because unfortunately back in the day, a lot of choirs had turned up late and messed up things and had given a really bad impression of black musicians within Christianity. So like it was only us, and I remember when we first did Soul Survivor in Skegness and bumped into Noel Robinson. And he was like, how'd you guys get here?
Yeah. I'm the only black guy here.
How are you here? And it was from then that as well. Then we went to Soul Survivor, and we ended up having a bit of a stage there, which then was taken over by 29th Chapter. And then that was taken over by Governor B. So like, again, going back to this whole Ton of Rat thing, a lot of it was about just opening these doors and then going into the schools thing as well.
Right. It's easy saying it's easy being a tunnel rat.
It's not.
You know what I'm saying? Yeah.
It's not.
You know what I'm saying? So, you know, to know that you are the cannon fodder to win the war, yeah. Did that hurt some of the members of the band?
Oh, heck yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. Well, it definitely hurt me, like in the sense that I'd fleeced God, if you like, is to see whether I should go into this. So I had, so back when university was free, the last year of going to uni for free, I had an option. And it was like, right, I either go to the Montfort University, which means I'm leaving the group, I'm going to Leicester, I'm out. Right? Or I stay and I give this a go. So I fleeced God and said to him, right, if I pass my driving test, I'm going to do something useful. If I pass my driving test first time, then I'll stay here and I'll do this. Yeah. So I'll do my driving test, everything's going well, just to the end of it, and the guy goes to me, what's the speed limit? And it's like 30. He's going, could you drive it, please? I was like, oh man, I've messed up my driving test. Yeah. Get back to the centre and the guy's like, you drove so well that I didn't want just you. Normally I wouldn't say anything, but I didn't want just sat in the vicinity as you not driving.
Okay, cool.
Slower, not even above the speed limit, but slower than the speed limit to affect your chances. So I'm passing you. So that was me, passed first time. Okay. It's like, all right, Lord, I'm here. And then, you know, I ended up working for Awake Records and Lucas Langdon, who is very much, at the time, was the A&R for Christian hip hop in the country. He found everyone. Nearly everyone from London worked for Lucas at some point in time. So as I said, I had a free ride to be a design engineer, which is what I wanted to do. So in my mind, I was like, Lord, I'm giving this up for you. So I'm kind of expecting the same kind of money. And I don't know where I got that from, but like, yes. Cause obviously now that the rapture's not happening, we're all going to be rich. So just name it and claim it. And that's how it's all going to happen. And that's because that was what was going on at the time. Prosperity message. So so it just became really, really difficult that this isn't something that is financially viable. Especially not with 4 members. You know, we can't sustain this. The shows are doing 150, 200 pounds. You've got 5 of you. You've just driven 3-4 hours up the motorway to go to New Wine Festival. You know, and it isn't much more than patty and a drink. You know, it's Christian CCM money was a little bit better. But it was quiche. It was quiche and a drink. There was no pay. But like, mayonnaise. You know, and it was, so it was tough because we're trying to sustain this and we're trying to do it. And it ended up with an argument that I had with my missus, and which turned into a song. So we got this song called Music, and my lyric is, had a finance meeting with my wife this morning, said the guns down meetings are affecting a mortgage. Because I work a temp job, if I ain't there, then I don't get paid and the bank don't care. That I'm trying to make a living off the talents I have. But if I miss my direct debits, then I'm losing my pad. But this day job is making me sad. And if I don't do 40 hours a week, my wife will be mad. The other guys have got permanent jobs and I don't. So in her eyes, I do stuff that they won't. I'm trying to make a living on the promise of God. But I need this to make money because I'm sick of my job. And it became really difficult to navigate that, because we kind of had in our minds that the only level of success was full-time. And it wasn't necessarily that. And we were, to be fair, we're putting out albums, we're going abroad, we're doing all sorts of other things. We had our own studio that we were paying for. Like, we were actually achieving quite a lot as people who had full-time jobs. But I was in a position where I was temping, because in my head, it was like, as soon as this happens, I need to be able to leave. Whereas the other guys were wise enough to go and get actual jobs, build careers. But I didn't do that. But, in hindsight, it's worked out. I'm the only one who's still in the music industry because I'd found ways to make a living during that period of time. But it was hard. And then as well, then you had the whole, what was that X thing? The guy who X Ministries. Something Craig. Yeah, Craig, somebody talking about how, X Ministries that the evil in hip hop. Yeah, hip hop wasn't of God and all of this sorts of other bits and pieces. And you had people who you'd been doing shows with, who all of a sudden are like, are you demonic? no, bro. Like, you know, and it was, you know, again, that was just one of the things that we kind of had to face and be able to show, well, no, actually, these are the fruits. You know them by their fruits.
Yeah.
This is our fruit. This is what we've been doing. These are the changes that we've made. We are now seeing younger people wanting to stay in faith.
Yeah.
Right? We've changed an environment. Like, you know, so no, anything, any tool can be used for different things. And what we didn't know at the time that has become more apparent, which gives some level of validity to actually the ex-ministries conversation, was that in 1991, a meeting was held with major record labels in the States that were being invested in by private prisons.
Wow.
And they made a huge investment because private prisons get paid by the amount of criminals that you put away. So they targeted hip hop and said to the record labels, if you sign and support artists that are glorifying violence, drugs, and criminality, that will create more crime in their communities and we will have more people in our prisons. And that actually happened. And so you see throughout the 90s, we have this change from the likes of Public Enemy and these kind of artists that had a real message to it being part of my language, bitches, guns and hoes, right? Yeah. Which we've now kind of denigrated to that this is what rap music is about. And it was never about that.
It was never
about that. But you now that you look back, you can see, oh, how comes this really good group only ever had one song? Or one album. Like, why is Souls of Mischief 93 Till the only song I know from Souls of Mischief? Because they didn't get the backing that Snoop would have got.
Yeah, 100%.
Right? And, you know, or that Tupac would have got. Or because these were the kind of voices that they wanted out there having that effect. And we were trying to battle against that as a small independent, you know, group from the UK.
Okay. So did you get any support? What was the support like from the church itself for you guys? No, right. We heard of two prayers. Two prayers is great, and but a great church. Did you have any corporate support?
I have to thank Rainford Carr, who was our original pastor, because he is the first person who invested in us.
Cool.
And got studio time. That wasn't well at the time. That was a lot of money. That's like £1,500 for studio time back in the day. Great. So I'm very much thankful for him. There was also some guys, I can't remember their names, I'm really, really sorry, who, when we did the first album, the Chronicles album, they did a split deal for us and allowed us to use their studio so that we could put the album out. Yeah. They now run the front room in Croydon. So very, very, very thankful for that. But essentially not really in a way that is kind of needed. And now as I'm an artist manager and like, you know, I see how much it costs. I've just been having a conversation about one of my artists who's looking to have a deal, and the company who we're talking to, we're looking about putting £20,000 behind each single. And like, that's the kind of level of investment that you kind of need now. And even back then it would have been to manufacture singles and stuff like that. But now it's about, or do with radio play, but now it's about user-generated content and Spotify algorithms and, you know, advertising on Instagram and various other bits and pieces. But music is expensive. And we were paying for it out of our own money. And like, going back to that verse, one of the reasons my wife was so mad is because I took some extra money that I got and I put it into Green Jade. She was cussing. Because I should have gone on holiday. Like, wow. And that was the thing. And
that's the part which people don't know, that definitely I would say the popular era of, when I say popular, it doesn't mean it was making money period, but I don't think people realize the literal throwing the money down the toilet. If you looked at it from a business standpoint, that we were doing when it came to gospel rap. Yeah, you know what I'm saying? You very few people. I know the only person that really come out of it, Femi give a joke, because he had a bit of a one-stop shop. You know what I mean? When he was doing it all internally, and the way he did it was efficient and effective. 4 hours he did it. But the thing is, I would say he was one of the very few.
But that was because the whole setup of Royal Priesthood is a cottage industry essentially. The two other members were his wife and his brother-in-law. And they were able to. They bought a CD stack and were able to record the CDs themselves and put them out at a time. And that was kind of like there was this whole do-it-yourself
approach
ethos
at the time.
and
Yeah.
process. But that wasn't the group that we were. We were trying to be more mainstream.
Yes.
So therefore, for us, it was more about, well, how do we get a distribution deal so that we can get our stuff into stores, and how do we then promote that? And we've got it's not just about putting out a video. Guns Down video was on MTV, not MTV based, but MTV.
So let's talk about Guns Down. Let's talk about Guns Down, because I remember seeing Guns Down OTR record when I remember the rise of what I was doing with Gospel League magazine, and I saw that we got Green Jade on the bill. It was Green Jade, 29th chapter, and there was another group on that OTR record. I can't remember, but I remember
LZ7. LZ7.
LZ7, yeah, and you guys won that thing. Now I'm like this, this is looking nice. Yeah, you know what I'm saying? And for years, again, it's funny thing is, my last interview was with 29th chapter.
Oh, yes,
yeah. And I was like, literally, it was like a Nigerian wedding when they throw money out. You got the money deal. Yeah, I'm saying you got the money deal. And I spoke to you personally before that. I know, but it wasn't what it seemed. Now, you guys actually got onto... Guys, you don't realize MTV... wasn't the MTV that you know now. You know what I'm saying? The commercially out there, regional, to get onto there, bro. Yeah.
And I have to big up, and that was Shabazz and Arg for Butt, who really helped that. So Shabazz was working for MTV at the time, and he helped get us onto MTV Africa, which as a result then allowed us to get onto MTV and MTV Base. And we had the music video, and again, the music video was a miracle.
But the thing is, when you go in those circles, no matter who you know, when Shabazz puts it on the table, it's gotta sound good.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? No matter,
it's not just about,
but because Shabazz and I love Shabazz, he would appreciate the few people that would open doors for people. Yeah?
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? And he's always been open about that with GR Live and really wanting to get these platforms out there. He had a passion for that.
Yeah.
But you had to come with quality.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? You had to take it to a certain level. He knows, because when he brings it you're competing against the John Legends at the time and all these
no doubt.
artists.
I mean, for us with the song, so the song, I'll always talk about the fact that the song Guns Down was inspired by events here in Birmingham.
Yeah.
We were performing the same night that Letitia Shakespeare and Charlene Ellis were shot. Who were a couple miles down the road from us, because we were at Bethel Convention Centre. And that night, the audience in Bethel Convention Centre celebrating New Year's were miserable.
They
were proper miserable.
Oh, they're church folk. Yeah, I went.
And it was just like, we're driving home in the car, and it's like hearing about what's happened to these two 17, 18-year-old girls. And it's like, right, we have life. Like, we have the God of life is who we serve. And we are miserable about being able to see a new year in. Yeah. And then these girls didn't even make it. We've got to do something about this. So that was where the spirit of the song came from. But with the music, we were actually, with the music video, we were in New Wine Festival, about to be interviewed, and waiting. The person being interviewed before us was Sam 119 Comics, and they left a comic there while we're in the waiting room while we were waiting. We were flicking through it, and I remember Third saying, "Oh man, wouldn't it be amazing if we did a music video like with this?" And I was like, "Ping, all right, let's try it." So I contacted the guys, got them to send me some artwork. They did pictures of us. They gave us all the backgrounds that they'd used. And my friend works in special effects, my best friend. And I was like, look, I don't know what you can do, but could you give this a try? He was like, I'll give it a go.
Wow.
He's in work and he's working on it after work. And someone comes in the room and goes, oh, what are you doing? It's like, oh, my friend's got a music video he wants to make. I'm just trying some things. And the guy goes, oh, you shouldn't do that. You should do this. And what about this? And blah. I'll tell you what, let me have a try.
Wow.
So he takes it. Turns out this guy just edited X-Men.
Wow.
Right? And he did it as a passion project. And I didn't see any of it. I didn't see the process of it, anything. So my friend invites me to come and watch it. So we go into Tottenham Court Road, back when Tottenham Court Road used to have lots of TV showrooms.
Wow.
So he puts this disc in and plays it for the first time. I have not had any input in this. I cried. I bawled tears when I saw that video for the first time. And then I went, how much is he going to charge us?
Yeah.
And then he introduced me to him, Richard Poet, love you, man. And Richard was like, and at that time we were then, starting to do like, okay, we want to go into schools, we want to do this, we want to make sure that the song actually has an impact. And he said to us, for what you want to do with it, there's no fee. Just go and make a difference in young people's lives. That's the payment for this.
Cool.
So I remember then taking it back to the studio and then playing it to some of the members of Zion Noise for the first time and to the guys, and just shocked silence. Like we could not believe that we had this thing. So for it to, as I say, yes, got onto, it was Choice FM Song of the Week. It got onto MTV, which was impossible. It wasn't even something in my mind when we made it. It was just, got onto MTV. It's all going well, and then it just grew beyond what we ever envisaged, and really allowed us to have the impact that we always wanted to do in having something that spoke to God's heart of reconciliation and peace. And it wasn't evangelical in its nature. It was just about restoring. And, we had some amazing testimonies of young people whose lives we actually kind of saved. And I always remember this kid who was 15, had a bulletproof vest on in school, and felt that things were too late for him to have this message. We were able to get around him. He got stabbed 3, 5, 6 weeks after we did the show. Okay. But and he survived, but because we'd engaged with him, we were able to help him engage in services and stuff like that. And he recovered, got out of gang involvement, all sorts of other things. So that was amazing for us.
So I remember the time when it came out, and I remember going into Wesley Owen and stuff like that and seeing the record. Obviously it was OTR record that had the single, yeah? I see you smiling. Now you're talking about its success as a project of you guys going into schools. But if it was Sony Records with it,
different thing, because much all respect to,
but technically OTR has a Sony distribution deal.
All respect to
sorry guys, I'm going there because you know what,
and everybody else, and thank you.
But I am going there because I will go there. It's nothing personal, yeah. But the thing is, we have the weaponry.
I think but you got to understand. I think now that I look back on that, because I remember having a conversation with Les, who's like, Wiz, I've got a whole set of boxes of these singles.
How do you get out there?
Are you going to sell them in schools? Because from their point of view, the tribe are going into schools and selling CDs.
Yeah, man, that's the model. That was their model. That was the model. That's it.
That works in Manchester.
Yeah.
That don't work in London. It don't work that way.
Yeah.
It works in London by having it in HMV. It works in London by having it in Tower Records.
And in Birmingham.
It works in London. Yeah. Do you know what I mean? It works in other places. But the Christian community and Christian music at that time was not set up to do that. We were Wesley Owen, and that was it.
But the thing is, you had things like New Colours before that. In fact,
but they weren't signed to a Christian record.
That's what I'm saying. You know what I'm saying? And this is what I'm saying to you. There was evidence, and listen, bro, right?
I mean, just to put into perspective as well, when we did the Fridge on our own, 2002, we had 1,500 people in there, right? That was not just unheard of for a gospel show. That was unheard of for UK hip hop.
Yeah. This is what,
but we didn't realize that at the time. There were Sony people in the building. There were record companies in the building who came and see. This is
what I'm saying. You're doing flagship stuff for the genre. Yeah? You know what I'm saying? And end of the day still, and this is and the thing is, we still struggle to this day with this, but I believe that there was an opportunity here, and I will highlight it. Yeah, and I know you probably make up excuses. I don't have no excuses because everybody had the money for Hillsong a few years before, and they had the investment, and they had this, and they had the push behind it. But when we had something that was directly for UK people in a UK culture, UK issues, yeah, even if they didn't make the money back, you know what I'm saying? It's end of the day still, yeah. If a random dude, yeah, rich poet, yeah, who I believe is not my complexion, yeah, you know what I'm saying, just coming from X-Men, then he sees the heart of this, yeah, you know what I'm saying.
So the thing is,
go on.
So I work.
That's how I'm going.
I work in black music,
cool,
right?
Yeah.
You know. Now, you know, I run MOBO's arts development program. I work in black music. An issue that we've had in black music, going back to jazz, was that black music was predominantly funded by drug or illicit money, right? That's where the majority of the money has come from.
Okay.
Which also goes to the reason why a lot of black music, especially rap music, has lots of ties to drugs in it, because a drug dealer. And this is how UK rap really got pushed, because drug dealers set up the pirate radio station.
Yes.
Because they realized, if I have a music that promotes my business, even if it doesn't come directly to me,
it feeds the industry.
It feeds into my industry, and I will make money from it somewhere else.
So
we never took that understanding.
So this
in
is
Christianity.
In Christianity, our drug dealers are the pastors. Yeah, because you have.
That's a quote. I don't know if you want on the internet, bro.
Because you're the drug called the Holy Spirit that you're taking out. You know what I'm saying? Salvation. You know what I'm saying, that you're taking out there. They have messed up, because the evidence is where we are today in our young youth communities and youth culture. The guys in the 90s never invested into evangelical tools. Yeah. This is why we are where we are today. Yeah. Because of that fact. Come challenge me, come deal with this. But the thing is, the model is out there because they had a vested interest in the success of drug trafficking. They invested into it. We are saying, Wizdom, unless you're gonna give me them 100 records, them CDs back, to give in my church, you know what I mean? I am not going to invest, because that's not going to help me directly. You know what I'm saying? That was the mentality of the ministers, right? Not everybody,
but because you know. But the other side of it is, and again, now that I'm an adult, I did kind of get it. It's like, I'm just trying to survive. Like, I'm trying to pay for this church roof to get fixed. I'm not thinking about the wider. I'm thinking for a lot of ministers, when they're talking about, you know, evangelism, they're talking about to come to their church, not for the kingdom. And I think that lack of kingdom mentality has always been an issue. Because we don't see, unless it benefits us directly, you don't see that. And again, I'm privileged in the understanding of that whole tunnel rat concept, whereas I'm not going to win the fight.
Okay.
What I did 25 years ago has laid the foundation that what DC3 is doing right now.
Okay.
That's the point. The point is, there's now a Christian rapper who's got the internet behind him, and everyone respects what he does. And no one is going, oh, he's going to be Christian, he's going to be rubbish. No one's doing that because we got shot at for doing that.
Come on now.
20, 30 years ago.
Come on now.
That's
Come on.
the point.
He
can now benefit from the trenches.
But does he know that?
Point. He may not.
Or not even that.
He may not.
But
he may not. But I've had the opportunity. But to be fair, I have had the opportunity to speak to him. I've encouraged him. I've spoken to his mum.
Love to him.
I'm really love what he's doing and stuff like that. And there's other people as well who's come along the way, and it's lovely. I love seeing Triple O and Faith Child. Faith Child's mum was one of our prayer warriors when we did the fridge. And Faith Child was 14 years old. Being hidden in the back because he wasn't old enough to be in there for that gig. So I love And I love seeing them guys and the love that they give and the acknowledgement of what we were trying to do to open doors for them. So like, and the fact that they're still doing it at such a high level, that's what I think the underpinning problem sometimes is that we, as especially the Black Caribbean community, don't really understand nepotism. We don't understand legacy. We've not really experienced it. So I think within the African community, it's a little bit better. They get the idea of generational wealth. But as I say, a lot of our churches thought that they were going to be raptured in 2000, so they didn't even have life insurance.
Yeah, bro. Come on. Now.
So having an understanding that you're going to invest in these guys and they're going to have an effect on the scene and stuff like that. The one set of people who did do that were the guys that I did the granaries with. And then as soon as we were kind of out of the way, they tried to steal it from us and replicate what we were doing and did it badly because they didn't know what they were doing. And it's unfortunately, there's been a lot of that mentality. And what I've been trying to do amongst Black music has been to try and show an example of how to do that differently. And actually live the example so that I can show you this is how you move together with people.
But come on now. So it's been acknowledged the wider Black music perspective. Something that I want to sorry guys, I'm going to be digging it because I'm privy to information, so I want to really scoop it out. Sorry if I apologize if anybody think Roger's going too edgy on some of these things, but if anyone knows me, everyone knows me, yeah? You know what I'm saying? Try something.
We know who you are.
We know who you are. You know my email address. But anyway, right. So at the time, I wearing a t-shirt. Yeah. Now, Green Jade was doing, this is just before Guns Down. You did a headline event. You headlined at the same venue.
Yulu.
Yeah. Yes, Yulu. So,
fun fact.
Go.
Fun fact.
Okay, cool.
I was working for a company
I
was working for a company called Redeem It at the time. And Redeem It were the people who developed QR codes.
Okay.
And on that event, as a promo for it, we actually sent QR codes to people's phones for them to be able to buy tickets. So that was one of the first events that you could buy a ticket with a QR code in the UK.
Yeah, man. No, it was a cool venue. It's a cool venue.
So that's 2003.
2003?
Yeah. When did?
No. The Truth 2007.
So so we did it.
No, would it have been after Guns Down? It would have been after Guns Down.
So 2005.
So you went because I remember you had a cartoon kind of vibe to it, yeah?
Yeah, so that was the Green Jade and album. So it was us working with other people. Yeah. That was the launch for it.
Yeah. So that launch event was at Yulu, yeah? Yeah.
2005.
2005. So I heard about Green Jade. Obviously, I'll see them. I've never seen them, Green Jade perform, yeah? Because I've never been at an event that you guys perform at. But I've seen all the flyers, seen when you come to Birmingham, so you're well known, talked about, great stuff, watched the videos, great. Now, so I bumped into Article The Truth, on MySpace, where I was really be the manager, met her up and I've brought over not been part of things like Mr. and Mrs. Taylor, Frosty, Tunnel Rats, Sherwin Gardner. So it's not like I had a clue about we working with American artists, but this was going to be a different thing. Yeah, with The Truth. So I still starting the whole thing called GR Live. Yeah, and I am not doing this podcast series because I want to get I want to say sorry to the whole of London OGs, but I think something that I think really want to highlight for future people now. Obviously, being a Birmingham guy, and this is back in the day when you never really had much knowledge of artists on the ground in terms of direct connections. Yeah. So when developing up the bill for this now, and I knew that you guys were doing Yulu, yeah. Obviously I knew it was about weeks. It wasn't that much before. It was about a month. That
was a little while because I think your event was like December,
and what
so we'd done like June.
Yeah. So it's summer, and And again, at that time, doing shows, getting 100 people is amazing. You know what I'm saying? Let's be real. You know what I mean? So you guys are doing headline shows, doing your thing, doing that event, and so on now. And then we end up doing GR Live there and Yulu and whatever. Obviously, you never had a clue who I was anyway, so but when you saw like some GR Live now coming with artists that you do know, not like you got affinity to cross movements, and then you see the teaser go out, and then you start seeing the artists that are on the bill and different things like that. How did that feel for like an artist that have been around and know the truth? Yeah, know his name's Emmanuel. Yeah, and you know what I'm saying. How, you know, and. Yeah, what?
It was cool
because I saw I met a couple of you guys afterwards the show. I sure met and got introduced at the end. I sure it was the end of that one. Or look, I can't remember.
Possibly.
I don't know who it was. The one with dreads. Who's the one with dreads again? Way. Yeah,
from Green Jade.
Yeah.
Way.
Yeah, I think it was
possibly. Him. I think I'm definitely sure he would have been.
Yeah. So yeah, I remember him. I think I remember him afterwards or whatever there. But I look back and it being fed all this knowledge from who were about there. Ain't nobody from the old school, it was the old school from the 90s, were really on my shows apart from Jahaza.
Bear in mind, Jahaza's a superstar, Christian-wise at this point in time. You know what I mean? He's the biggest artist in the UK at the time.
Yeah. And he was doing his thing 100%. And then the shows ended up being a crazy success. Yeah, absolutely crazy thing. You know, you're talking about selling out. When the show sold out, guys, don't let nobody fool you. And I'll keep on saying this. And I said this to Pastor Ephraim at the time because he compared. He compared. But no, he compared. And I remember saying to him, it's not about me. It's about you guys were getting killed for this moment for it to be 1,000 people. Nobody gets that. Nobody was there for that conversation, but I had that conversation because a lot of people got a bit braggadocious about the fact that we bought 1,000, about 700, 800 young people, sold out show to the thing. But the fact that basically there was literally very little interaction with a lot of the OGs. How did you see GR Live? You know what I mean? At the time, not so much now, because at the you know me now, whatever they're still,
I mean, that's the thing. At the time, it was great.
Okay.
Do you know what I mean? Because for us, as I said, we're tunnel rats. We want to see the scene do well.
Cool.
At that point in time, but also it corresponded with a difficult time for us because one of the members of the group got divorced. Our studio was broken into. We've just come off the back of 2004 was probably our peak year in that we opened for Delirious at the Olympics. We did Soul in the City. The album was doing well on OTR. We were everywhere. I mean, that summer, I think we opened for Delirious 3 or 4 times.
And Delirious, guys,
right. Delirious was
like the oasis of the oasis of Christian music at the time.
So
they're ridiculous.
We're in different spaces. So and Jahaza really was the champion of Christian hip hop at that time in a way that we weren't. So we didn't feel away, and also because Truth was part of the cross movement thing, and we weren't great vibes with cross movement. And if I'm honest, to some extent, the stuff that went down with cross movement really put me off a lot of Christian hip hop. So it was I wasn't really, it wasn't. The only weird thing for me was that originally I'd had a call and was asked to host it, and then I was de-invited from hosting it. And I didn't really think much of it because, to be fair, we were busy and we had other things going on. But obviously, then when you find out the event had 700 people, and it was like, I should have hosted that. Why wasn't I involved? What happened there?
Was that a shock to you for so many people to turn up that time?
It was great.
Because the thing is, everybody was shocked.
But we've just done. So at that
so
year,
if you understood. what was going on beforehand.
Yeah,
It
so
had to-
we had done.
Yeah.
So we'd done, as I say, 1,500 people in the fridge. So we were a part of proving
That you can.
Christian music and Christian hip hop was worthwhile, and that there was an audience who wanted to actually see it. Like that was what we were doing. When we'd done Yulu, we didn't actually have the greatest turnout of that, because again, we were pushing into different
different areas.
So that, even fast forward into the whole thing with turning down the MOBO in 2008, it was because we weren't active within the Christian scene at that point.
I was thinking that. So 2008 now, I was minding my own business and I got a phone call from the same friend that probably called you at the time. Did host. Got a phone call. Did you know that, you refused, who put it as an article? It was Marcia
Dixon in The Voice.
In The Voice, made an article to say that, that Green Jade
weren't proud of our Christian heritage. And therefore we're trying to hide that, and as a result of that, I'd pulled out of the MOBOs. And it was like, That sounds like me. That's like me getting an OBE. Why'd you pull that? Spits out his British heritage and it says one to OBEs. No,
cool.
So
talk to me about that.
To give you the context, we started doing Guns Down heavily in about 2007. I think it was 2005 or 2007.
Yes, I remember you was heavily into schools.
Along that line, heavily into schools. We'd just done a school in East London where 95% of the school were Muslim, and we had a room full of 100 kids, and there was about 99 of them were Bangladeshi, and there was one black kid in the school.
Wow.
Right? Talking about gun and knife crime in Tower Hamlets, which was a problem in Tower Hamlets. And the conversation for us was, is this going to affect our work? Because essentially, we're doing the one thing that I really believe this group was created to be able to do around this whole Guns Down thing. It's actually making a purpose. And I don't want that school to not want to book us because they think we're clandestinely trying to convert their Muslim students into Christianity when what we're trying to do is keep them safe because God loves them. That's where we're at.
So it wasn't the fact that you was waiting for the other call. You're part of it. Yeah, you're welcome to the UK rap. You wasn't waiting for a bigger award.
No, we'd won the UK Hip Hop Award already. We won that in 2001. Like, we were already part of that. As I said, we grew up with everybody who's there. Sway is in, at this point in time, Sway's going over to the States and being signed by Convict Music. Estelle's had American Boy out. Like, these are our friends. Like, if we want to be in that world, we're in that world already.
Okay.
You know what I mean? We're not trying to be anything else. We're trying to make music that has an impact. Which is when, so then we go on and make songs like Father's Day. And we go on and make songs like, Kick Off Your Shoes. Because we're trying to have,
how did you respond to that? Because today you could do your own Instagram response to it. How did you respond to it back then?
We did an interview in... So the way that went down was Marcia had put that out in a newsletter that went around to people, and I got wind of it then. So I rang Marcia and was like, Marcia, please understand this is what we're doing. This is the impact that could have, right? Please understand and appreciate that saving lives in schools is more important than me getting an award.
Yeah.
Right? I need you to understand that on a level that is the most important thing to me.
Not your Christian roots.
It's got nothing to do with my not being proud of my Christian roots or our Christian heritage or anything along those lines. As I said, a kid came up to me with a bulletproof vest on in school. And we helped
and that's
his
your
life.
interest.
That's what I care about.
Yeah.
Right? At the time, we've got Choice FM. We are their school. We're Choice FM's Peace on the Street Schools initiative. That's where we're at that point in time. Okay? What we had been told actually about the MOBO, because you do get kind of told about it beforehand, was that we were being nominated for the B MOBO. They used to have this black MOBO that they did.
Yeah, cool.
which was for community projects.
Cool.
So we were like, yeah, cool. Would love this would be perfect for what we're doing. So when it came out, and funny enough, I was sitting in Jahazel's house when the nominations came out. And it came out and Jay was on there and then we're on there. And I'm like, no. So I rang Judah. Well, sorry. So that was the nominations. But like when, as I said, so I spoke to Marcia and said, look, please be sensitive around this. So then the week after it comes out in The Voice. And we're like, that's not exactly sensitive. And then we start getting calls from people like, so I think I rang up one of the guys at Premiere and he was like, can't believe you rang. We were just having a conversation. People are saying all sorts of stuff is going on. Like, you lot are really splitting up. You don't talk about, you're not talking with one another. There's been fights in the group, all sorts of other things. Like, what's going on? Is that the reason why you're not doing it? It's like, no, bro. We're in schools.
Wow.
Where Christianity is not the easiest thing to navigate in schools. Because the way that, they would put it would be, okay, if we do something Christian, for us to be balanced, we then need to do something Muslim, something Hindu. So we'd rather not do anything that's faith-based because then we're not offending anyone. So it was like, nah, bro, look. So we did an interview with Premier. I think we did an interview in the New Nation to kind of set the record straight. But then this was exactly the point that we were trying to avoid by pulling out quietly and saying, can all of our votes go towards Jahazel? Jahazel's been part of Green Jade. He is the biggest artist within Christian. He deserves this. More than we do, because we ain't here. We're not doing your churches. We're not doing. You're not doing churches. We're not doing GL Live. We can't get booked for them shows. They don't want us there no more. So hey, that's cool. Let me go and continue doing New Wine and Green Belt and Soul Survivor. Like that's where we are.
Cucumber shows, man.
Right? That's where we're. Yeah. Let me get some quiche. I'm good. Like, so that was, and it did the entire thing that we hoped it wouldn't do, which was then we went from being pre-booked to no one booking the Guns Down show. No. Schools pulled away from it entirely, and we ended up having to change the name from Guns Down to Fighting Chance. That was the impact of it. That was the only thing bringing any money into Green Jade at that point in time. So it killed off the song. It killed off our work. We had to pull the name out of it. Like, yeah, that's what the impact of could you please be sensitive and not being sensitive. That's what it actually meant. And it wasn't just us. It then ended up, Jahazel's work got cut because they found out that he was, he stopped working in schools. The only person who kept being able to work in schools out of all this, because we kind of opened that door, was Royal Priesthood, because Royal Priesthood weren't coming in as a Christian artist. Yeah. Like, that's it. And they weren't nominated that year. So that was the actual effect, the real world effect of that. And that was precisely what we were trying to avoid. But, thankfully, Patrick had a book coming out. Sorry, Patrick from XLP had a book coming out called Fighting Chance. We were able to rebrand it. And we worked it, but we lost the relationship with, I think we did lose the relationship with Choice FM. Oh, no, that continued because we then still ended up working with Boris Johnson. But it definitely took a dip. It definitely took a hit. We had to rebrand as a result of it. Wow. Now, things have changed. Yeah. You can be a Christian artist now and work in schools and it not be a problem. But again, that was because we got shot at.
Murder scene, bro.
So
I feel like this is like Shine. I feel like a Shine.
Go to Belize and become a prime minister. It was and
for real?
That hurt.
Sorry, keep talking about Shine.
But it's one of the things I often talk about the fact that I'm really privileged that my career had a beginning, a middle, and an end. When we got to about 2010 and Judah kind of came in and was like, what, I think we've gone as far as we can really go with this thing. By that point in time, we had done stuff. Yeah. we had, as I said, we'd set up a record label. We'd supported other people. Half of that Zion Noise project was recorded in our recording studio, and we'd learnt things by then, and we'd been able to have an impact. We'd opened for Jay-Z. We'd done stuff.
And that's in a decade, bro. In a real core element. That was really for you. You really started recording in the mid 90s.
Yeah,
and
late 90s.
Mid to late 90s, and you're doing your mixtapes. 96, 97, and then by 10 years later, you're doing his impact, and it's like what annoys me about a generation that's above us. I got asked one time, and I continue to say this, and my response was a big massive group, and they looked at me. Bear in mind, I'm not the rapper, but I'm just known because of rap shows. Before rappers always go, why'd you get asked? Because into this, so I'm a church boy that loves rap, but couldn't rap, but could play music. But anyway, a bit of a weird guy. But they always say to me, Roger, what do you think of this new thing called gospel? Do you think we can do gospel through drill and all this business? Yeah, bro. And it's just like
so funny,
so guys, listen. I know, and this is how I flip it on the elders. Yeah, believe it or not, artists like Andre Crouch, which we will see as the traditional sound of gospel, were seen as outsiders. We can even go back to Fanny Crosby. She was seen as a popular artist and wasn't loved at her time. And I know that there were pastors that turned around to the brethren, young people, and said, you can't go to Andre Crouch concert. I know that for a fact.
Yeah.
So you're coming from that period of seeing an artist who we see as traditional and old school and boring, you know what I mean? And you were told he's too worldly, you can't go to that event. And you tell me you can't reimagine that for today's generation. The content is the strength, not the sound. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? And it's just so frustrating that the generation that refuses to understand the struggles that they had.
You know what it is? Yeah. I just think that, as the Bible says, the traditions of man can make the word of God of null effect.
Come on.
Right? And I think that, it's very, very easy to get stuck into your way of thinking or the way of doing because it keeps you safe. Wow. And as I say, I think because of my journey as a tunnel rat, I've never been safe. For me, what is normal and innovative and just, this is the way that we need to do it, seems to, and it's followed me my whole life, my whole career afterwards, even being at XLP. And, I've had, the artist at the moment who's really blowing up in the UK is Lola Young. She looks like she's going to take over from Amy Winehouse effectively. She was one of my young people. I knew her when she was 12 and 13 and stuff. I took her to one of her first concerts. I actually put her on, her first festival was playing Greenbelt because I used to take young people to play Greenbelt Festival, right? For me, I'm all about being able to see things progress. Yeah. And because I'm then seeing these kids, I'm at XLP and I'm like, we could develop stuff and we could do this. And then they're like, yeah, but we're a youth work charity. We're not a record label. It's like, oh, okay. All right. So yeah, maybe this isn't the place for me to be or maybe I've got to do my ideas somewhere else. And that leads me to, hoping to open Elam School. Because, I've got now a relationship with young people in these areas and can kind of help them with their recruitment. And now that's doing really well 10, 11 years later. I'm an innovator.
You have been behind the likes of, we met an artist called Tuffy. Tufumi, forgive me, Tufumi here. He should kill me for that, man. I always mess up. And we was both at Gospel Festival, which I knew was doing, and both me and Wizdom was like, hey, yeah. Well, it was next to each other, and he was torturing because we just next to some place that you call it.
He was next to Anfield.
Yeah. So I just remember that day.
He was in the shadow of the glory.
and there's an artist that was like, Wizdom, she's fresh. Yeah, and the thing is, then a year later, literally, she's on a MOBO on song, and you helped to be in that, we call it a secular space. I'll say that very traditionally. You in a secular space to bring through, to help a gospel artist.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? Be themselves, true to themselves, but also have that mentorship with and which I have not. I've seen poor mentorship from gospel industry people. Yeah, they almost treat it as a way of, we can get away with murder out there. Yeah. Teach man's like, yo, this is how we hit the clubs. You know what I'm saying? And you can shoot me for this, but musicians, I know what I go on. You know what I'm saying? Shout out to all musicians. Anyway, not the majority. High percentage.
Many of which were ostracized by their own churches and left to deal with their own devices without any support at all, because they felt that what they were doing was wrong, and rather than pray for them, they cussed them out and left them to their own devices and left them on their own. And that's unfortunately what happened. But as I said, a lot of those musicians were the kids that grew up under me, and I feel like I've got a responsibility to do them. Those guys are the ones who are opening the door. They're the aces of this world. They're the Toby Oriendes. Those are the people who are, as I say, Twin B, Alex and Alec Botek. Like, do you know what I mean? They are, really important to our community, and often felt ostracized. So for me, when I saw Tafumi, and she has an amazing talent and voice and stuff, and she didn't really have production behind her, and she didn't have access to places because she's based in Coventry. Being in a position to be able to, and I will definitely say she got through on her own merits because she's amazing.
Yes,
so being able to be involved in seeing her through working through the MOBO Unsung project, seeing her do songwriting camps, seeing her perform at Glastonbury, which I think we were looking at it. I think she may be the first solo gospel artist to perform at Glastonbury.
Yep.
Like, that's incredible.
And bro, and it's not like we haven't had the talent. And this is why I'm bigging you up, bro.
It's about access.
I'm bigging you up because, you know what I'm saying, bro, yeah. And I know what you say about the other man, them still, yeah. And I appreciate, love to all the other man, but we have had people in spaces and you brought through a talent, and we've always had the talent, but like what Shabazz did for you back in the day with the video, you had the quality. You already had the product. You had the quality of the product, and you need the access. He brought you the access, but you had the quality. It wasn't hardcore nepotism and he was rubbish. And it was like, these are dry, these are Milli Vanilli. You know what I'm saying? But Tafumi is not no Milli Vanilli situation. It's a talent. She's talented, and you brought it through. So I ain't playing down what you've done and what uniqueness that you're doing right now in the industry. I don't want you to play it down. I know you'll play it down every single time, but what you're doing from my perspective, what I've seen and what we've pulled out there, you know what I'm saying, and what's come back to us, you're doing something totally unique, and I appreciate it, and I see what you're doing, and I've seen how quick you moved on it. So that's why I'm a student. And you brought, even through the pains of the struggle, you're still sowing. And guys, it is not easy to, and this is, I definitely going to round up in this because we can talk for England 100%, or for West Indies. That include Barbados, St. Kitts and Jamaica.
Or even the northwest of the country.
You know what I'm saying? We're not doing our RVM show right now, bro.
Because you won't put me on the show, bro.
When we do the F1 special for that one, and so on. But the thing is, we are two guys born in two separate areas, born in two different ways, and we end up in the same director's board. And I think I think it's really crazy cool.
And I think, but that's what for
cool,
me,
man.
Kingdom is about. One of the things that I think was really difficult for me when I came to Christ was that everything was fine with the come as you are, and then as soon as I came, it was like, well, you've got funky dreads, you need to cut those.
Oh, did you? Let me go.
So like, you or why are you driving motorcycles and all sorts of other bits and things, and like, and it was like, oh wow, I didn't realize that was what this was.
Yeah, man.
And for me, I kind of, what I then realized was what God called me for was the uniqueness of me, and I'm not like everybody else. I'm not, and that was the point. And I think that it's really about being able to celebrate who God has made you, in the for the audience that you've been made for. And that's what I'm trying to live out, essentially. And that was kind of, a lot of that came from Green Jade. And I'm really thankful for, as I said, for all that we were able to do together. And, and then how that's now transitioned, because, you know, I was talking to my missus recently. I've now been out of Green Jade as long as I was in it, which is
weird,
wild for me. Because it formed so much of my identity.
It's a foundation, man. No, it's a foundation. You know what I mean? It's who you are.
But I still get, and I see the frustrations of people who, I've been called to do something, but I don't know how to make any money, and I don't have any access, and I don't know what to do, and you know, my thing ain't going viral, and all of these sorts of things, and I don't know. I don't know, and I think for as I said, going right back to that conversation with those brothers in Faith Chapel, where he was like, "Well, I ain't gonna tell you nothing. Like, I can't. That cannot be my legacy. Like at all. We can't have access to all of these things.
Come on now, and
then not want to be able to pay that forward or gatekeep it in the way that I've seen other people do it. That it's all about you. Like it ain't. It is about us being able to build and support a kingdom that is a witness of who Christ is, and that's what I've been trying to do for for all of my adult life, not even my career, just my adult life.
Most definitely. Crazy, bro. We appreciate that, man. And guys, you don't realize there's so much more to talk to when it comes to this you know, the inner depths of Zion noise. You know what I'm saying? That was like, you know, a collective,
crazy.
you know what I'm saying? You know, so look at that smile there. We could go into that. That's another half an hour, but we don't have over half an hour. We might have to do part 2, because I believe we'll end up doing a part 2 and definitely in the next 6 months, because I know the amount of responses and the combustibles to what has been said, not in terms of negatively, but to build up will be reflective, because I've had that with Marks as well, when people say things that actually go, oh my gosh, I remember this, and I think it's important. I'm looking at your the releases that you've done and whatsoever, from Chronicles, a story so far, you know what I'm saying, you had a little twist version, New Jerusalem version, you had the Faith, the single, many sounds, one noise, you know what I'm saying, that, you know, and you had like New Jerusalem Project Volume 1. I remember these, especially with the covers, Truth Serum, Guns Down, Life as We Know It, Movement to Progress, you know. So for me, like, dude, like, that's a lot of music. You know what I'm saying? A lot of music when it was very hard to make music. You know what I'm saying? And definitely salute to yourself to be amongst that space. Salute to Green Jade for what he did, and really. And
if you want to check it out, because it's a weird thing, some other group called Green Jade, our dance group, and for some irritating reason on our Spotify, if you go on our Spotify, the first 5 songs are theirs.
Wow.
So if you search Green Jade, in case you missed it, that's the best way to kind of find our music.
Okay, that's cool.
So because I think there's still some really good music on there. It's funny, like I had a couple people be like, this just sounds like 90s hip hop. I was like, yeah, that's what we were trying to do. Like, and they were like, but I can't tell the difference between this and some of the other stuff that was going on in the 90s. And I was like, that was the point.
Exactly. And the excellence at the time was not appreciated. And you know what I'm saying? Yeah, no, because Tunnel Rats was straight up next level, bro.
Tunnel Rats, man. Trying to dig a trench, man. That's what we were trying to do.
Yeah, man. You know what I'm saying? So for me, it's really crazy. And it's real honor, bro. And like I said, you know, I know, hopefully we could even get to meet the whole crew. One time, come down and just meet the whole crew. Because I think these conversations are not just about giving people information, but it's also putting out people's truths. And I think that putting out people's truths in a positive manner helps for healing, not only for themselves, but for their families, to really appreciate some of the you know, we look at our wives, our partners, our life partners and children and whatever. Sometimes they don't realize some of the things that we get, we see and get. So it's not a case.
What's interesting, like, you know, I often used to hear people say, you know, you don't know what your grandparents went through and stuff. We are the first generation where we can actually find out. And we can look at their Instagrams and find out what they ate you know, we'll be able to actually do that. And I think it's, and one of the things that has often, as I said, because we don't necessarily do legacy well as the Black community, I hope we're getting to a point where there is enough information out there that people can go and find out, oh, am I the first Christian hip hop and artist in the UK? No. Okay. Who are these people?
Yeah.
Like, or, you know, what has gone on before and what can we learn from it and how can we do it differently and why didn't people get on with one another and, oh, you know, what's a different way I can approach this and stuff? Because I remember recently meeting Lenny Henry and asking him the question, like, you were the first. There's now a generation of firsts in the UK. So Kanye King was the first with the MOBO Awards to do Black Music Awards. You know, Lenny Henry was the first Black comedian really to break through in the mainstream in the UK. What have you learned and how can we learn from you? Because there's stuff that exists because of you.
Yeah, 100%.
And for myself as a pioneer, I want to be in that space to be able to let people know so that they know that they're doing okay, because we didn't know. We didn't know this would work out. Like, you know what I mean? We didn't know how things were going to progress. As I say, I now work for MOBO, the organization who I turned down their award however many years ago. You know what I mean? I did not know that was going to be the case.
Crazy.
Like, you know, it's amazing how things can kind of go around. So like, I think it's important to be able to understand that your story is still going and there's still stuff to learn, that we can learn from one another. And I think it's important that we as the older generation listen to our younger generation and learn from what they're experiencing, because their world is different from us, but also that they can kind of get the wisdom and realize that's maybe not so important to worry about. That you should really pay attention to. You know, please, you know, if you're going to be a musician, work out how you're going to have a life.
Wow.
Do you know what I mean? And And God will, while God will bless your plans, don't plan with miracles as part of the business plan. Allow for miracles to happen, but they're not supposed to be in the business plan.
Yeah. 100%. Yo, guys, on that point, on that note, on that ending there still, from Wizdom. Yeah. With a Z, you know what I'm saying? I spelt it all with an S for so many years. And go, why can't I find you on Instagram?
Why can't I find Wizdom?
Yeah, right.
I'm sure that's a question you've asked many times, bro.
Yo, this is the problem when you next to MC, you know. You said, guys, don't let me get beat out. I'm sure man's like freestyle, man. I freestyle like it really grime, you know. Let's go. Old time grime, you know what I mean? No lyrics. This is how we do, man. But listen, guys, thanks again. Listen, it's Roger on the Edge Show talking to Wizdom, one of the members of Green Jade, and really giving us insights of how it was coming up in the mid-90s, going into 2000, of the gospel, UK gospel industry, showing that there were some things going on before Bible. Love to Simply Andy.
Love.
Blessings,
Peace.
Man. Bless.
Hey, this is your bishop from Rock Solid. Thank you so much for watching us on YouTube. Thank you so much for clicking and subscribing, and also sending these videos to other people as well. We are so hungry to get your support. So remember, check us out on our website, and also check us out on Insta, and wherever you want to find us on Spotify. You can play us all day as well. And just make sure that you are supporting this channel, that we are developing our agenda towards music of Black origin, and that is gospel music with a message. So please walk with us on this journey. Bye now.